What I know is that the chairman of the party must be concerned with the primaries that took place, the nature of the primaries, which were violent, with a lot of fraud, changing of figures, and a lot of complaints in almost all the districts. So what's likely to happen is that the chairman is likely to be addressing us on those matters and how to resolve the conflicts that we have now in the party, and charting a way forward for the party, because now we must come together as a party and plan for the general campaigns which are coming and the general elections. So it's more like a meeting to bring back all the members together and start planning together for the general elections. And whatever is likely to be taking place there is rotating around the upcoming general elections and how to resolve the conflicts that have come up as a result of the primaries. So that's what I see.
Have you seen some areas which need amendments in the elections?
I don't know. There are so many gray areas, but as we have always heard from the Electoral Commission is ready to proceed with the law as it is to organize elections. So as we know, the law is a living thing which needs to be fed with life all the time through amendments. So whether there are amendments or not, we must proceed with the elections. But if you asked me whether there are necessary amendments to be made to have a perfect election, there are so many amendments, so many. But we are ready to proceed with the law as it is.
No, the caucus has always been there. We agree that we must always meet as frequent as possible, but that comes at the time when the country is going through the electoral process. In other words, the country and the Ugandans are picking their leaders at the political level and national level. And mind you, these elections have been characterized by petitions, violence in some parts, not the whole country. So we hope that something will be said about it. But there is also at the same time the service provision, extension of services to the people. Particularly in my case, the issue of the roads is very worrying. After the exit of UNRWA, we don't know what's happening between there, so the roads are in very bad state. The supply of drugs are questionable. And indeed, we must also talk about the general governance of the country in process of whatever. So I believe, by the way, this is a normal caucus. We are asked to have it, so we are going to discuss, and I believe those are the issues we hope to discuss.
No, as we discuss
is fortunate that we are going to have this caucus meeting after coming from the NRM primaries, and maybe it will help us to discuss issues that we should have actually discussed before we went into the primaries. You are aware that we shall be having elections for the Central Executive Committee, and normally they ask for any reforms or suggestions that people want to put forward. For this particular case, it is over 5 years since we elected the last Central Executive Committee. We need to make reforms, and I hope we can be given a chance to do so before we go into the next elections, which are the Central Executive Committee elections. But also we have the national elections arising from the NRM primaries that we have just had, and aware that NRM is a mass party, a party that involves very many, almost half of the population are actually engaged in these NRM primaries. If we don't have reforms, which to me, the parliamentary elections, act can be amended to ensure that we deal with certain things and put, serious measures. For example, on issues of corruption, I know it is already there, but the punitive measures are not yet there. So we may have to agree and move forward. We have about 4 months, 5 months to the next elections. We can actually make some amendments, of course aware of the Supreme Court ruling, not major ones. So we'll have to put in consideration the Supreme Court rulings that said we cannot make amendments 1 year to the next elections. However, there are certain things that don't fall under that Supreme Court ruling. Matters, for example, on, I have talked about the corruption and generally even violence. We need to find a way of ending this. They are masters of violence, and if somebody is a master of violence in an election, such a person, if confirmed, should actually be immediately, for me, stopped from continuing with the elections. That's the only way we shall end this unnecessary violence in elections.
No, finally, for you,
People lose elections for different reasons. Others even lose unfairly. You will find them coming back as independents. So it goes back to what I said, that we needed to have had reforms before we actually get into elections. If you go into an election without clear reforms, for example, this issue of lining up, it was actually me who made the proposal, aware that most of our people were illiterate. They could not actually write names of candidates. So we said, let's line up. But now lining up, while it is transparent, but has also brought other issues. We've heard about, for example, the case in Capchorwa and other places where a registrar simply fails to read the results as they are. So these are things that we should have. Some of us foresaw them. We should have gone into reforms before getting into the party primaries. But now that it is done, this should be a lesson to us. We need to candidly discuss and even have reforms before we go into the next Central Executive Committee elections. Otherwise, we are tearing the party apart.
thank you so much.
You know, this is a party, and the party chairman is the president of this country. And the party chairman, I guess he might have scanned through how NRM was a bit messy, with a lot of very many senior people failing the primaries, and now it is like there are new young people who have come out. And even those who are not very senior, after losing, definitely if you're a party chairman, you have to get concerned. I am not very sure exactly why they have invited us, but one thing I know, we are the sitting NEC members, National Executive Committee members, as NRM Member of Parliament. And you know, there are some issues in preparation for the delegate conference. The Central Executive Committee might have come out with issues to be discussed. And those issues cannot be discussed unless NEC has approved it. And now that we are the sitting NEC, it is proven enough for the party chairman or whoever is responsible to bring a table before the NEC. However, Caucus is as usual. After every quarter, we are supposed to have a caucus meeting to discuss matters which concern Parliament, matters concerning policies, bills that is on board, and even you have seen how the country is grappling with a lot of poverty. So I guess that could be one of the areas, because issues were on the floor of Parliament, and especially on roads. And the Minister for Roads Works came straight and will say there's a lot of funding gaps, close to about 2.something trillion, which makes them now very difficult for them to implement and maintain the roads and complete projects which are ongoing in the country. So I guess maybe this could be an area of concern where members have to talk about, because Minister of Finance is supposed to answer some issues which on Tuesday is supposed to come and talk why are you not releasing money to fulfill those kind of services that are required. But for the party primaries was hard. It is necessary for us to talk about it so that the party should remain one. Otherwise, with more than 381 petitions that has been filed for Member of Parliament positions, that one are huge, and it will make you get concerned immediately. Leave alone for the district chairperson, which are also coming, so that we addresses the heavy use of finance in politics. They also address issues of intimidations and all those sort of things. So I think that is an area of biggest concern that we cannot keep quiet about it. Thank you.